a mastermind who emerged with a plan that was set to shake the foundation of a national economy. He hid under the shadows of 1920s Portugal and slowly unveiled his mysterious plot. This criminal genius executed a daring scheme that forever altered the course of history. So how did this fraud manage to print 200,000 Portuguese escudo for himself? How was the whole operation carried out under the table? And lastly, how did the glory of this mastermind come to an end? Join us as we uncover the enigmatic world of Alves dos Reis, the mind who initiated the infamous Portuguese banknote crisis, which still echoes through time. Let us rewind to the year 1926, a formidable and unforgettable year for the Portuguese. Apart from constant riots in the streets, the trust of the civilians and the government is also broken. While Portugal's own people cannot trust their government anymore, the São Bento Palace, on the other hand, expresses its distrust in the banks. The international relations of the nation have strained, and their money is now worth nothing. A financial emergency that Portuguese history will probably never forget. As a result, they are about to succumb to Salazar's fascist rule, which is about to last until the 1970s. Well, it wouldn't be wrong to blame all of it on the ill actions of a single man, Artur Virgílio Alves dos Reis, a man whose whole life was dependent on forgery and fraud, a man who brought down his own country. Alves dos Reis had an unmatched audacity and an unparalleled boldness in terms of its scope, which is how he gave rise to one of the biggest financial frauds in the whole world. With a dropout engineering degree, Alves dos Reis somehow managed to print illegitimate 200,000 of 500 Portuguese escudo bills, which the nation could never compensate. Alves dos Reis's fraud made people question whether the whole financial system is effectively controlled or not. Born into a middle-class family. During the turmoil of the Portuguese monarchy, Alves dos Reis had already experienced what having less money felt like. Although not much is known about his childhood, all that is known is that Alves started using his brain for forgery when he was a teenager. At the age of 18, a young Alves abandoned his engineering studies to get married to Maria Luisa Jacobetti de Azevedo in August 1916. She belonged to an influential higher social class Portuguese family. Alves soon regretted his decision to leave his studies midway, as his in-laws constantly humiliated and reminded him of the social differences. Stung to the core, a humiliated Alves dos Reis left Lisbon and moved to a Portuguese colony in Angola, Africa, the same year. Now all the young man could think of was making an enormous fortune there. Well, he had made some arrangements before finding a job. And what were those? A forged engineering degree from Oxford University, of course? Yes, you heard it right. Alves dos Reis created an illegitimate engineering diploma from a fake college called Polytechnic School of Engineering, labeled under Oxford University. In his expertise, Alves dos Reis mentioned that he excelled in geology, engineering sciences, physics, geometry, mathematics, biography, metallurgy, electric and mechanical engineering, and applied mechanics. Little did Alves know that his illegitimate certificates could land him the directorial post of the Angola Railways someday. But how did it all happen? Wasn't his forged certificate evaluated? Did he get caught? Well, spoiler alerts. This was the first ever time he got arrested, after which he planned for an even bigger heist while inside the prison. Alves dos Reis and his affair with the Angolan Railway shaped his criminal mind. At first, the Angolan Railway had employed Alves as an employee in the public sewer construction and repairs department, but he had bigger dreams. Once Alves got into the company, his rise was meteoric. Alves dos Reis soon convinced the authorities how big of a genius he is at the job he does. Well, here we are, talking about his numerous forged skills and fake degrees, which the company, of course, did not cross-check enough. He soon became the director of the Angola Railways. Politically, Portugal was in a burdensome situation then. A war had just ended, due to which the railway company operating in Portuguese Angola was in huge financial debt. The loans were on the rise, and the shareholders were becoming uneasy. Alves saw this as an opportunity to execute a fraud and loot some money into his own bank account. He soon found out that the Portuguese government had lent the Angolan Railway Company a hefty $100,000 treasury to clear out the debts. Although Alves was only in prison for 34 days, he utilized this long month in the jail of Porto to make a plan that would be a swindle of the century. Alves had noticed previously a loophole in the Bank of Portugal. He knew that the bank had lesser control over the Portuguese escudo notes, which seemed like an opportunity for exploitation. His plan was pretty straightforward. He signed a fake contract with the Bank of Portugal with the help of some acquaintances. The contract said that Alves and Group has permission to issue counterfeit notes of similar quality, of the same number from the manufacturers. They soon came to know that the 500 escudo notes were being printed in London by the Waterloo and Sons Company, which was indeed an essential piece of information. To his support landed a Dutch financier, Karel Marang van Isselveer, and a German spy, Adolf Hennis. José Bandeira, the brother of Antonio Bandeira, who was the Portuguese ambassador in Hauge, also joined the gang. The diplomatic financial cogs in this well-crafted scam finally shook hands on the further ways of proceedings. All they needed was a dent of tricky and false documents to convince Waterloo and Sons to print 500 notes. So what was next? Waterloo and Sons began delivering 580,000 banknotes of 500 escudos in no time. You will be surprised to know that this amounted to almost half of Portugal's money supply. The gang received the fake notes in diplomatic bags, straight from the Netherlands without any control. This is how this whole operation was carried out without anyone batting an eye. Just as in every genius fraud story, Alves dos Reis was also set to be caught someday. So how did his story come to an end? It was pretty smart of Alves to directly approach the printing company instead of making his own printing machine. After the execution of the counterfeit plan of 200,500 Portuguese escudo notes plan, all Alves needed was a way to launder the money. The fake notes had an image of Vasco da Gama with a date of 17th November 1922, which total valued at 200 million escudos. It was equal to almost 1% of the whole of Portugal's nominal GDP at that time. It is even beyond belief that the fake 500 escudo notes were as many as the real ones. The counterfeit notes would then be proceeded into gold-backed foreign currencies and smaller denominations of Portuguese currency, which kept Alves out of suspicion. Reis himself received 25% of the proceeds, which made him quite wealthy, but Alves was now unstoppable. He, being the owner of the Angola Railway Company, now created the Bank of Angola and Metropole, with the help of a few partners in June 1925. They invested the counterfeit notes to buy shares of their own company. They even heavily invested in lands, buildings, farms, and businesses and increased the monetary base of the Portuguese economy altogether. To his personal belongings, Alves owned 3 farms, the Palace of Golden Boy, which is currently the British Council building in Lisbon, a taxi fleet, and an innate quantity of jewelry and expensive clothing for his wife, while his partner Bandeira bought retail stores and invested in fleets of enterprises. The final move of Alves arrived when he found interest in controlling the Bank of Portugal. That was the only body which he was scared of being busted in front of the whole world. So, why not buy it all together? Soon, they controlled 10,000 out of 45,000 shares of the Bank of Portugal, which was supposed to be a secret, but soon the newspaper had it covered. Everything was going undetected until their group attracted Angola, and the attempts made by him and his partner towards Angola attracted attention for other reasons. The Portuguese had suspected the German government wanted control of the Angolan colony. Their partner Adolf Hennis and Alves's return to Angola raised suspicion as they had personal relationships with Germany's espionage. Soon, Alfredo da Silva, who controlled Portugal's market in vegetable oil, was alarmed. The most important daily newspaper, O Escudo, in Portugal, started raising questions on how Alves's bank might have given people loans with such low interest without any deposits. During this investigation, the whole scam was exposed. They were openly caught for counterfeiting the money and then whitewashing it by offering loans. The newspaper publicly revealed the fraud on 5th of December 1925, which is when everything fell apart. Not only did Alves's bank wealth cease, arrest warrants were issued against him and his associates. Adolf Hennis slipped away, keeping his identity hidden and kept most of his shares. While Alves tried to commit suicide in vain, he couldn't escape prison. At the age of 28, Alves was finally arrested and convicted of 20 years in prison. Although he was released in May 1945, he died of a heart attack in 1955. Waterloo and Sons' business never completely recovered financially, and the Portuguese government faced a crisis of money right after this fraud. Indeed, Alves dos Reis was a mastermind who fell apart due to his intelligence. What do you think? Do let us know your views in the comments down below and give this video a huge thumbs up if you liked it. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to always stay updated with our uploads.